Hi everyone, thank you for joining me here today. In today's video, I wanted to go through the brand new Cosmos paints from Cadence. Now these are an incredible medium to work with. They give you the effect and the realism of ceramic pottery. So for example, if you're going to take something that's plastic, something that's maybe made from glass, maybe something polystyrene, an inanimate object, cardboard, something from around your home, you can paint it with this medium to give you the effect and realistic look of it being ceramic. Now, it gives you that rough matte texture, which you would want to achieve with ceramic paints. And you can see here, I've actually picked up some charity shop items. I've got a vase, I've also got a white vase as well. And these ones I've painted already with this, and you can see the texture. You can see how matte this paint is. It's incredible. Now, of course, you can use flat brushes, sponges, you can use it through a stencil. There's so many different ways in which you can play with this paint. So in this video today, I'm going to cover really your basics techniques on how to use your Cosmos paint and how to get the best results from it. So here I've got down in front of me a glass vase, and this actually here is a little bit of a teaser. You can see some techniques and some pieces of artwork that we've been doing with these paints, almost a little ceramic tile. So I'll share that one with you a little bit later on. Just going to pop a tub either side of my vase here just to stop it from rolling around. But this here is the Cosmos paint. It comes in a variety of colours. There's so many to choose from. You can create your own colour families with this one, but we wanted to select the whole range from Cadence to be able to share with you, so you have got the option to build up and play with these to your heart's content and do your own assortments. So the one I'm going to start with and actually build this product to begin with is the Cashmere. Now this shade has a beautiful chocolatey caramel tone to it. It sets perfectly matte, and it almost creates the optical illusion of a never-ending surface. Almost like something you could walk through. It's fabulous. They come in 150ml pots, these paints, and to give you a little bit of housekeeping and a little bit of the in-depth of the compounds of what's actually in this medium, these are all fully water-based. So when you're using these, they're non-toxic, they're completely safe to use in and around your home. If you're going to be wanting to paint these onto things for the garden, maybe you're wanting to paint some plant pots that you want to be weatherproof, you're going to want a sealer to go over the surface of these because they're intended for indoor use. But if you wanted to do that, you would want a primer on the surface. Maybe it's a plant pot. You're going to have some foliage in here. Use a primer on the surface of the pot, whatever it is you're using, and then seal it afterwards. You may want to use a solvent spray, but Aquastone varnish from Cadence would be perfect. But again, remember that is going to give it a glossed finish. So you can create your own glazed pottery, or you can create your own kiln-fired pottery as well. It almost feels like terracotta, those beautiful pots that you get, and they age so well. So what I'm going to do now to begin with is show you the application of this product. Now, application really is key. And come to mention it, we don't have a key to this surface. This is slick glass, completely transparent. But we're going to go directly onto this because, again, this is one of the most desirable, but yet, should I say, hardest to achieve coverable surface, maybe, in the craft industry. I know we go onto so many different surfaces within craft, whether it be cardstock, plastic, wooden items, things that you would typically find around your home or may even consider actually throwing in the bin. Well, this vase, I think, it might actually even have the label on it somewhere. I think it was about £2 or £3 from the charity shop. It's really big, and I'm going to get so much coverage from my paints with this. Now, I have given mine a stir already, but if you want to just use, I'm going to use the end of a paintbrush here. But again, you can use a cocktail stick or a lollipop stick, something like that, just to give this a good stir. And the reason for that is because within the whole body of this paint, there is a medium. And you might be able to hear it if I just bring it close to me. That sound there is the granules within the paint. So it's got really finely ground down granules, almost like molecules of grit, plaster grit. Now what that does is it gives you that finish, that beautiful terracotta ceramic finish that you don't get with other paints. So giving that a stir will make sure that's evenly distributed within the paint. So I'm just going to take my brush out of there now, just wipe the excess of that off and pop it to one side so we don't get it everywhere. I'm going to take a flat brush for this. Now, with the brushes I'm going to use for this project, you can find at the Highlight Crafts website. These are your set of 3, and they come in an 1", 2", and a 3" brush. I'm using the 2" one for this particular project. Another link to the product and everything I'm using as well will be in the description of this video, so you can find those all over on the website. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go straight into the medium itself. And I'm working directly onto the glass. And again, if this was for outdoor use, we'd want a primer. Cadence recommend a primer for heavy traffic areas, but for this one, we're absolutely fine going directly onto the glass. Now you can see here, I'm just using a sweeping motion, going backwards and forwards with this, all the way up to the top. And I have painted the remainder of this vase already because, of course, I only need to show you the application and then you can use your imagination to do whatever you want. But of course, at the same time, I think seeing the whole vase being painted wouldn't make for the greatest tutorial, would it? So what I've got here is the paint covering all of this area. And then I'm holding the brush like a feather. I'm gliding it over the surface. Now with these brushes, this is hardly applying any pressure. It's only touching it as gravity would pull the brush down. The bristles on these are incredibly soft, super, super soft, which means you get less brush strokes, but you can sweep with the paint, giving it almost a burnished finish as we actually complete the project. I do have a lip to this pot here, so I'm just going to quickly go around there, just finish that off and paint it. I have also painted the inside of the glass, which was actually a choice that you don't have to do if you don't want to, but you can see there looking at the pot, we've got a complete coverage on that one. Now with some surfaces, you may want to add 2 coats. Now, a 2-coat recommendation is advised from Cadence, and the reason for that is if you're covering a surface that may be highly pigmented already, glass, of course, has no colour tone to it. It's completely translucent, so we can be really adventurous with our colours knowing that we're not going to get anything shining through. It's almost like when you're redecorating a bedroom. If the walls are black and you're wanting to paint it white, it's going to need a few coats, regardless of the paint that you're using. It's actually shying away from that tone. So depending on the surfaces, you may want to prime them first, use a white gesso. That way you're going to use less of your paint and get more out of it. So I'm going to pop the lid on my pot here. Now, when you're actually putting your lids back on your Cosmos paint, with it being fully water-based, we want to make sure they're fully sealed nice and tight and kept in a nice dark room temperature space, such as your craft drawer or on the shelves, not in direct sunlight. And what you can do is if you have removed the seal, which does come inside the tub, do remember to keep that because it is a waxed seal. If you do lose that or it just becomes, disappears, or you've tore it by accident, just put a bit of tin foil over the top and then put the lid on over the top of that and it will keep it nice and sealed in there. Now, with your Cosmos paints, you want to allow 30 to 60 minutes at room temperature for them to dry naturally, or alternatively, you can use a heat gun. Now, this will probably take me about a minute or two, so we're going to speed this process up, but of course, you can come back straight to it once it's dried. So I've just paused that halfway through as I've been drying this because I wanted to share with you what's actually happening during the drying process. Now, as we go to the surface of this pot, you can see an area that looks slightly darker. These sections here, they are touch dry, but they still have moisture in them. Now, when a paint is drying, it's really interesting. It can look dry to the eye, but it may not be because essentially it's a water-based paint, meaning there's still going to be moisture content within inside the medium. So these areas here where I'm getting a bit of light reflection, you can see those are still wet. But close up in detail here, these areas that are darker are the ones that are dry. So always be sure, before testing with your finger and going in and making a fingerprint, I've learned from experience, make sure it's bone dry. It's going to give you the best results with your project. So I'm just going to finish drying this one off, then we can finish the project. Now what I've then done is taken the heat away from it. We can still see we've got a slight dampness to the paint. I've been heating this now for probably around about 45 seconds with my heat gun. This is a glass surface, so I don't want to add any more heat to the surface right now. For one, it's glass. I don't want it to get too hot. We don't want to crack the surface. And as well, if you've got the time to wait there for, maybe 30 to 40 minutes for it to finish then dry, that's perfect. The stage that this is at the moment means we can carry on with our project. So I'm going to rotate this around slightly, and I've got some areas that I've been playing with the colour. Now I want to introduce you to a shade that is absolutely gorgeous. Now this is the emerald green. Now I'm doing some tonal play with this particular project because it just looks really therapeutic. It's satisfying to the eye, but again, it shows you the coverage of the paint and ways that you can use it. So this emerald green, you can see a deep, luxurious colour. I'm going to go in to start with a pencil here, and I just want to make an outline shape. I'm probably going to go around here just with my pencil to make a brief mark, very, very faint, just so I can see where I'm going. Now, painting freehand, of course, you can absolutely do that, but with this one, it's sort of like mapping out where it's going to go. So I'm going to go straight into my paint with a thin rounded brush. That's going to do the outer edge of this, and I then always paint over the edge of that pencil line. You could use a chalk, rub it away, or you could rub the pencil away and change your design, because of course it's that matte finish. It will withstand quite a lot of stress. So I'm going round the edges I've already painted here, and then let's bring and taper that up just from the corner. Here we go. So I'm just going to rotate it round as we're doing it. There we go. So you can add multiple colours. Again, with that colour palette that we have, it means you can actually combine as many as you wish with this one. And I've created quite an abstract finish with this, quite irregular shape. So nothing's perfectly circle. I've not followed a stencil. It really is something. And this reminds me of pottery. When I was away on holiday, a lot of pottery that you can see out about, whether it's abroad or whether you're at the coast. Everywhere usually has their own signature pottery. I know when I was in Portmeirion, the pottery there was just absolutely gorgeous. And you can create your very own versions of things like that with this paint, which again makes it so beautiful. But look at the coverage that we're getting. It only is one coat over the top of that one. So then I'm just going to bring that round. Here we go, like so. And I'm looking at this thinking, with that burnt amber tone that we've got, it may look really nice to add a striking pop of orange in there as well. So just over some of these areas, I'm going to bring the orange in. With the orange being a lighter shade, I may need 2 coats with that one, which is absolutely fine, because again, the 2-coat basis is a recommendation if you need it. So I'm going to go in now, let's have a look in here. I'm going to grab another paintbrush from my selection. I mean, I've got quite a few to choose from. They're all well loved, they're all well cared for, but I think we all have our favourites. I know I definitely do. So I'm going to go for, I think the sponge stick wanted to be used there. I think what I'm going to do you know what? I'm going to use the one I've just used, and I'm going to wash it, because that brush worked really well to get that nice edge. So again, just showing you that with a rinse of water, the brush is good to go. Again, it washes out of brushes so well. For a paint that is being completely built up of all of these elements to give a ceramic finish, washes out of the brush beautifully. So I'm going to go in with the orange. That one there's my dark brown. Orange is here, and just look at the pop of this colour that we've got. It is so vibrant, so beautiful. So I'm going to go over the top just here with my circle of orange. So then I've made a very faint line with my pencil, dipping into the orange paint, and we're going to go right over here. Now, because I'm crossing over 2 colours here, I'm going over that green and also the white and the brown. So we've got a clear indication 2 coats is going to be required, which is no problem at all. So again, in some of these parts of the video, it may go a little bit quicker for you, but it is the process of paint application. And as well, as I'm going up to the edge of this, I'm just curving the brush round. I'm just following the edge of the line I've created, but not being too precious. I don't mind going over that edge ever so slightly. Here we go. And use the first layer almost as a base or as a prime. Okay. Here we are. Round this side. And then what I'm going to do is take my heat gun to this, give it a quick dry, and then we're going to go in with our second coat. In the meantime though, I'm just going to gently pop my lid over the product and bring in my heat. There we go. So then I'm just going to bring in that one again. I quite like the translucency at the moment. It almost looks like a shade going over the top of the 2 of them, but I really want that block colour. So I'm going to add another coat. Here we are, just going round. Then I'm going to give a nice neat edge to the white section here. And what I love about this is then you could start to bring in other mediums. So once you've added your ceramic paint, what else do you have in your craft room that you're going to want to relate to this? Well, there's many. There's loads. I'm going to use marker pens for mine. So we're going to introduce those because I want to create a collection that almost collaborates and celebrates this theme that we started with. So all the way around the edge again. There we are. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more just to this section on this side. So I'm going to bring my heat gun in again, and then we can get designing. So what I'm going to do now is our ceramic pot is dry, and I'm going to start working into it with a marker pen. Now you can use anything for this, and you can also use any colour. I've chosen black because I think it'll contrast really well with the overall design, but it means again you can then bring in your moodling, you could bring doodling, you could bring all sorts, or stencil, metallic spritzers, anything to your projects. This one is set beautifully, and I'm really happy with the colours that we've chosen so far. And again, we can still go in, paint over, add more to this Cosmos Effect paint. So straight into here, I'm going to start on the edge and work from this section going up. So I've got my black marker pen here, and I'm just going to be quite freehand with this. I'm going to go all the way up the side. It feels a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but you know what? Have fun with it and be confident. I'm going to go here to create a stem, and then I'm going to create a broad leaf. Here we go. Tapering off that side, and then I'm going to do another one just here coming up, and I'm going to go into the white and then do the second one. This is extremely therapeutic, and once you've done the first one, it just comes naturally to you. I'm then going to go do a really big one here, going right into the green section. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm rotating it around. I'm just going to do this one quite quickly because it is on a dark surface, but it will show up beautifully later on. And then I'm going to actually go and start coming up from the bottom down here again. So I'm going to bring one going around here. And then I'm going to actually create almost like a floral design. I'm just making sure my pen is dried before I put my hand in here. Going up again over the orange now. So we've gone slightly into that orange section. So again, still playing with colour. Just bringing the design up. And I'm going to do a small joint in the centre. And this is a very abstract way of creating your pieces, but it's one again that just looks absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to go around these and create some small floral sections with this and have fun with it. Here we go. And what I love about the style of this artwork as well is that even if you do make the slightest mistake, it doesn't show up as much as you think it would. It blends into the background so well. So I'm going to go over this edge, again do another leaf that's slightly broader, bring that around here, and then I'm going to do one to this side here. Let's do a nice big one down here. And if you do any mistakes, because of the pigmentation of this beautiful paint, you know, you can just go straight back into it and work into the design. Now, I think it'd be really nice to add a bit of texture going into these. So I'm actually going to create a wiggle that goes all the way through here. And then I'm going to create a crescent that comes around this side, and then a circle in the center of here. Just something a little different, very abstract, something that you wouldn't typically see. But this could have initials on it. You could be making it very personal, quite bespoke. I'm going to do another leaf going up here. There we go. And then I'm going to do one now coming up this side. There we go. And again, I'm going to create the leaves. And it dries super quick, especially if you use like an alcohol marker. The one I am using is water-based, but you could use a variety of different mediums to cover onto the surface of this. There we go. So I'm just going to dot all the way around the top of there. So I'm really happy with how this design's turning out. I think I'm then just going to do one that sort of comes down here and tapers back around. I'm doing this quite quickly, to be honest, but you could take some real time creating your designs, mapping them out. You could also do it all in pencil before you do any of it at all. There we go. So it's really nice style, really nice design. I think one leaf here coming in would look lovely. I usually say that and then instantly regret it, but do you know what, with this one, with the way that it's forming and coming together, it's one of those that just develops beautifully. There we go. So we've created a design here that's natural, free-flowing over the surface. I think more of a feature needs to be made of this orange section. I'm slightly unsure what I want to do with it, but looking at it now, I think the dotting looks really, really nice. So I'm going around this side here, just on that edge. So think of all of those techniques that you could bring in to a process like this. I'm just going to do it on that side because I don't want too much of it, but I think it looks beautiful. So if I just share this with you, the overall design, this here is your Cosmos Effect paint. So again, think about using this onto plastic plates, onto charity shop finds. You know, you can go onto a multitude of variety of surfaces across the board with this design and style. And there's so many different shades to play with. There's absolutely loads. I mean, just to share a few of them with you, you can see here, we've got your reds, you've got your blues, you've got all of these different ones. I'm actually going to create a tower in front of me. There is so many. They're incredible. Look at all of these colours, all of these shades here to play with. In fact, I can't even make my tower big enough. There is loads. They are absolutely glorious. So that's just one style, one design, but again, creating almost a theme or a room set of items that go together. Quite bohemian and a little bit Scandi actually maybe, but think about bringing in your rice papers on the top of them as well. And again, once this paint has dried, so with the paint itself, room temperature up to an hour, it should be fully bone dry. After that point, you can either pop it in the garden with a varnish on the surface of it, but around your home, it can just be displayed anywhere and is fully functional. So do check out the website, because if you want yours, the link will be in the description of the video below, and I'll see you for the next video.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notification of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.